The Major League Baseball draft has come and gone. It was really kind to the Tennessee Vols baseball team. Yes, there were some departures from your high school class. There were some departures from incoming portal guys. But I think when you really sit down and stack it up, it was really, really good for the Tennessee baseball team. Today, news comes of a return and a transfer from two guys who were expected to get drafted. I'm talking about that. Make sure you've hit the like, you share out the content, hit that subscribe. It is free as well. Frank Rock, the newly branded House of Orange TV coming at you. I'm cutting off sports channel, making it TV moving forward. Reese Chapman, Dalton Bargo. It was pretty widely thought of going into the draft they would get drafted. And I'm still kind of surprised they didn't. They had pretty good numbers last year for a Tennessee team. I mean, Bargo especially had really good numbers in the SEC. Chapman's not as good in the SEC, but overall they both had good numbers on it. Neither were drafted. I still kind of thought going in too that both guys may sign an undrafted free agent contract. Now, because you did have Austin Breedlove who had entered the portal, but he chose to sign an undrafted free agent deal with the Yankees. Yes, I know he's a pitcher. I know Chapman and Bargo are not. But still yet, I thought, because you see a lot of guys sign those deals who are kind of in that range. But news come out today, Mike Wilson, Knoxville News Sentinel put out, Reese Chapman is returning to Knoxville. He'll be back next year. Dalton Bargo, on the other hand, is transferring to NC State. I think that's a really good landing spot for him. He'll do well there, and I wish him luck as well. I mean, he did good things his 2 years in Knoxville. I mean, he was a part of the national championship team. Had big hits last year as well. I know neither guy ended the season on a high note, but still, yeah, they were big parts of that team last year that still made it to the Super Regionals as well. How does this affect the roster moving forward? I think you've had, if you look at the draft going in, we kind of knew in the high. Actually, I expected more high school guys to get picked than did. You just had Billy Carlson, Steele Hall, Cruz Schoolcraft. I think all three of them have signed at this point based on what I've seen. Hall may not have yet, but he will sign. The teams will meet that, I would expect. Now, you did have Cameron Appenzell and Ethan Moore drafted like 18th, 19th round. They're not going to sign on that. Their slot's nothing, and that's more or less by those teams that drafted them a Hail Mary at that point. Both have already said they're coming to campus, and those were big wins for Tennessee as well. You look at the portal class coming in. There were multiple guys eligible for the draft, and it really went kind of how I expected it to. DJ Newman was kind of the surprise for me. Didn't know if he'd get drafted or not. Good two-way guy coming from Bowling Green. The Astros did draft him in the 15th round. He did, I think as of yesterday it was. He has signed with them. So him, Clay Edmondson, Mason Estrada out of the portal all signed. Of course, Matt Barr, JUCO transfer. He signed with Minnesota as well. But it was a win-win. I mean, out of your portal, you knew the guys who were coming who weren't eligible. But then you had guys like Henry Ford, Evan Blanco, Mark Hendy, all eligible. You get all them to campus, and all those guys are coming to win a national championship next year. And to me on that, Ford was – they were all big. They were all big. Ford was the biggest because I see him as a centerpiece of our lineup next season. Then you had the unexpected major win getting Brandon Arvidsson to come back next year. And to me, this sets up that pitching staff. Here's how I go with it, and I'm dead set on this. Coons Friday, Arvidsson Saturday, Mack Sunday. That's to it. And Landon Mack said specifically, I seen it earlier in the week. I'm not sure exactly who he was talking about. I think it was Ryan Shumpert, Rocky Top Insider. He put some quotes out on Twitter. It could have come from another outlet, but that's who I seen had posted it. But Mack said that Tony Vitello did not guarantee him a starting spot next season. And he said he liked that. He wants to come in and work for it. So that was pretty interesting to me. But that's my weekend rotation right there. Evan Blanco, from what I've told, middle guy who can come in and get the job done. Mark Handy, a crafty guy, can get the job done. Bo Rudy did really good in the Cape Cod. I'm assuming he's still throwing up there. Could be wrong on that one, though. Brady Frederick, Southern Conference Pitcher of the Year, coming in. Braden Krenzel coming back, expecting him to take that jump. Henson Seibert. I'd said Seibert a little bit. They've got it on the roster page, Seibert. It is Seibert. It is not Seibert. Actual YouTube video I've seen with him saying his name, he says Seibert on it. But him going through it, and from what I've heard, he's in Knoxville. He's been in Knoxville working out, getting ready. We're going to see that talent this year as well. There's guys I'm forgetting off the top of my head here right now because they've added so many. I mean, you add a guy like Nick Abraham, or not add. He was one of your 4 returners from last year. I'm curious to see if he's not your midweek starter. But as you know, early in the season, you get those 2 midweek games, like the first 2 or 3 weeks, you get that. So you're going to need multiple starters then. Could an Appenzeller, could an Ethan Biotto, one of these freshmen. This freshman class is loaded that's coming in this year as well. The big question is going to be the 34 roster limit, but there are these designations. It's still a work in progress, and I'm still learning about it as well. Of course, I'm keeping up with what's said. I've seen somebody allude to 37 possibly, and Eric K, VolQuest.com, I saw him talk about it and said it could even be more than that. Probably going to have to be roster decisions made, but I think it'll get figured out for Tennessee as well. Looking at this lineup, I mean, I'll be honest, I've unless I'm talking with somebody, I'm almost sick of seeing all the lineup people putting their lineups out. I just am right now. And I say this because there's so much talent. And what do you do with all of them? What does Chapman's return mean? Is he the right fielder again? He's a center fielder. Here's the one thing I want to see and hope to see. If he's not producing, there's enough talent to overtake him. I don't want to see the loyalty this year. I know he's been in the program. This will be his 4th year. I get loyalty. Don't get me wrong on that. But if the guy's struggling and not producing, there's enough talent on this team to put him in and give him a chance on it. I don't need to continue seeing veterans struggle while younger guys don't get the opportunity. And there were a few instances last year where I would have liked to have seen some freshmen get opportunities that they did not on it. And I'll stick with that. With your outfield, I mean, there are so many options out there. So many. Every position, there's so much versatility on this. At catcher, in the infield, in the outfield. Fall ball is going to be wild, man. It is going to be wild. I would love to see it. I'd love to be there to see all of it. It's going to be wild. Of course, they still haven't announced the fall scrimmages yet. Those will happen at some point. Normally they're in middle to West Tennessee, somewhere in that range. And then, of course, you get to the spring and then it's on at that point. But again, there is so much talent on this roster. And, we look at it too. It's just, I could probably give my pick for a starting 9. But, man, I'd be doing an injustice because there's so many guys, so many good players that can fit in so many spots on it. I think it's really – I'll be honest, I think it's really hard to do that. I'm probably not going to give a prediction on my starting 9 just because I feel like, let's say I put Jay Abernathy in center. Who's to say he doesn't play second base there as well? I think he would be really good at second as well because where you play, we see it so often, the second baseman plays deep out, not so much just deep in the hole, but out into the outfield sometimes. With his speed, he could recover from that to make the play. I've seen people are putting Manny Marin, he's destined for shortstop. I'm not sure on that. All right, because Ariel Antigua has went and played his ass off this summer in Burlington, and I think that's got to account for some. That's a guy, to me, people speculated, could he leave? He didn't. He went to work, and he's kicked ass this summer in the Appalachian League. He's coming back on a mission next year, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So much versatility. But Chapman back, Bargo to NC State again. Best of luck to Bargo. I think he'll do really well in the ACC. That seems like a good move, and again, a good program for it as well. What's kind of the next step in the roster? It'd be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if there are any cuts because right now the roster is at 43 based on everything I've seen. Really, you've got to get 9 in, but what designations can you get in? Again, it's still a work in progress. It's still being known. We'll know more later on it. Nothing new in the Boo Carter situation. Based on what I'm reading, the team is off this weekend. It's their final weekend off. They report back to Knoxville Sunday night. I think we'll have our answer on Boo Carter Sunday night. You guys have a great rest of your day. Frank, House of Orange, I'll see you when I see you.